The old pottery style and iron already exists in South India, in Vaigai, and that is what this excavation is talking about. And that is very exciting, and that is what we need to consider. As early as 3000 BC in Tamil Nadu, there are sites where iron was being smelted out of rocks and turned into daggers, axes, hooks, and used. And it is probably for these iron Tamil Brahmi, which has been found in Tamil Nadu, which can be dated to 270 BC, indicating that probably Brahmi script existed in South India and then came to North India, and the Mauryan king took it. And we know that because the Jain monks were traveling to South India. Now, Jains are famous for trading. Clearly, we have a city in Keeladi, in Vaigai rivers, and there is iron there. There is carnelian beads, which is coming from Gujarat. There are black and red pottery, which is similar to the one which you see in the Harappan sites. So Keeladi has become very, very important to change the timelines dramatically.
When a new site is excavated, there is a possibility that we witness certain changes in the way we have been seeing history so far. Keeladi excavation is one such example. But how? Let's discuss this in Art and Culture with Devdutt Pattanaik. Hello everyone, I am Srivastava and you're watching Art and Culture with Devdutt Pattanaik. Now, in the last episode, we were discussing something very important. We were trying to understand how Keeladi excavations and their findings are very important to understand history. Now, in this episode, we are again going to take up the issue from where we left. And Devdutt, I would like to ask you that, we know that any excavation or historical site doesn't exist in isolation. So we need to understand what's happening elsewhere, whether it is in Indian subcontinent, in India, or to connected parts of the world. So if you can throw some light on it.
The next big thing, for 500 years, we hear nothing. So to the 1500 BC, around 1500 BC, something dramatic happens around the world. Horse-drawn chariot, are found in Egypt, in Mesopotamia, in Scandinavia, in China, in India. Horse-drawn chariots. Now, horse, according to DNA evidence, recent DNA studies, you can search in nature.com, horses were domesticated in 2000 BC. If anybody tells you anything otherwise, they're lying. We have very clear genetic evidence that the modern domesticated horse the genes have been found in 2000 BC. That is roughly the time when the Indus Valley was collapsing. The horse was finally being domesticated further north. Where was it being domesticated? Between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea, in the Volga Don River, which is roughly where Ukraine is today located. So at Ukraine region, that region, the horse was finally domesticated around 2000 BC. Now, Ukraine is to the west of the Ural Mountains. The Ural Mountains separates Europe from Asia. So Ural Mountains are important. So on the western side of the Ural Mountains, they found the first horse domesticated 4,000 years ago in 2000 BC. Roughly around this time, on the eastern side of the Ural Mountains, in Sintashta, southern Russia, they found a grave site. They found horses along with chariots. And these were domesticated horses. They were tiny horses. You can't ride those horses, but they can pull a chariot, but not a heavy wagon with solid wheels. They invented a special type of chariot with spoked wheels, which was light enough for the horses to pull, on which two men could ride simultaneously. One was the charioteer, the other was an archer. These people also invented what is called the composite bow, which is a bow made up partly of wood, partly of bone. So bone and wood is used together to create this bone. It's called a composite bow. So composite bow, a spoked wheel chariot pulled by horses, was a new military technology invented roughly 2000 BC, 4000 years ago, in Eurasia, which is a grass steppe land. Until this time, horses were used only for eating its flesh and drinking its milk. We know that from 3000 BC, horses had been domesticated for eating, not for riding. 4000 years ago, it was domesticated to pull chariots. They could not ride these horses, they were only meant to pull chariots. 1500 BC, that is 3,500 years ago, this new military technology reaches every corner of the world because there's demand for this horse everywhere. You find it in ancient Egypt. The first images of ancient Egypt, they're the Hyksos invasion, which happens in ancient Egypt, which marks the Middle Kingdom, the rise of the Middle Kingdom. You have the Ramesses in his war chariot. For the first time, we see horse chariots in ancient Egypt. Remember, at the pyramids time, there were no chariots, no horses. Pyramids was the Bronze Age. But you have this chariot appearing in around 1500 BC in Egypt. Around 1500, you find it in Scandinavia. There is a bronze image which shows, dated to 1500 BC, which shows a horse, a spoked wheel, and a sun on top of it. And in China, the Shang dynasty burial sites also have this chariot, which shows the military technology has reached China. And then in Syria, you find cuneiform tablets, that is clay tablets with cuneiform script on it, which mentions horses, horse trainers, horse riders. And the funny thing is, they use a language that we are familiar with. They use words like eka, dva, tri, chatur, sapta, which is the Sanskrit sounding words. They also refer to gods called Indra, Varuna, Nasatya. And you are like, this sounds like Vedic gods. And this is dated again to 1300 BCE, which means that the Vedas were composed roughly around this time. So about 500-600 years after the Harappan cities have gone away, you have this new military technology entering India. The question is why? Who called them? Why would they cross the horrifying Hindu Kush mountains, which are described as so tall that even eagles cannot cross it? That is what the Vedas describe the Hindu Kush mountains as, Uparashayani, which means even the eagle cannot cross it. Horse technology comes to India, but the question is why? And I suspect they came for iron. Because while iron was available in Anatolia around this time, but it comes around that time, even before that, perhaps India had iron. Where was this? Was it coming, the iron coming from Ganga River Valley? Or was there trade links with southern cities?
Thank you, Devdutt. Now, if you can throw some light in, what's happening in South India while you're talking about this time period.
Now, what is happening in the south? While this Aryan thing is happening in the north around 1500 BC, let's take a look to what is happening in the south. So, around 1500 BC, when the horse-drawn chariots are moving from the north and entering India, in the northern part of India, what is happening in the southern part of India? It is the megalithic culture. Megalithic means big stone culture. And what is being found in the southern part of India? For example, you have stones which are raised as in single rocks known as menhirs. You have this circle of stones being kept erect. You have stones being put in a circle. In Maharashtra, you have found sites where you have found stones located in circles. In Karnataka, at Herbengale, you have got a site where there is dolmens. Dolmens means you keep these stones. Dolmens means you keep these two stones, flat stones next to each other, and you have a capstone on top of it. Then you have cairns. Cairns is a pile of stones which has been found in Telangana. Then in Tamil Nadu, and Kerala, they have found what is called a cyst, that is a burial site, and big stones are placed on the side, which means that there's a civilization of people mobilizing themselves and putting these large stone objects for various, maybe ritual purposes, maybe for funeral purposes. And these are people also burying the dead in large pots. There are these large pots in which the dead bodies are being placed or the bones are being placed. So it's a culture is definitely there. There are human beings in these places. There are ash mounds. That means they collect the dung of the cattle. These nomadic people And at one particular spot, they keep burning it every year. Every one place only they're burning, which cannot be accidental. This must be some ritual purpose. What are they trying? Are they trying to melt something? These are questions we have to ask. Why are they building these fires? They obviously understand fire well, this heat technology well. Now, why am I saying this? It is because of iron. You see, copper is difficult to obtain. It's very difficult to find copper. As I said, maybe Rajasthan is a source of copper, but that's all. Nowhere else in India you'll get it. It's only near the Aravali you will get copper. It's easier to melt. Now, iron is found relatively in many more places in India. It's found in the eastern part of India, in the Gangetic Plains, found in south, it's found in the Deccan, it's found in Tamil Nadu, but melting it requires a very high temperature, and clearly Indians had figured it out. And that's what is conversation globally is happening. Was iron discovered, melting technology discovered in India? And I think most probably that is true. It's very exciting. There is data to show that as early as 3000 BC in Tamil Nadu, there are sites where iron was being smelted out of rocks and turned into daggers, axes, hooks, and used. And it is probably for these iron that the Aryans were coming to India. They were not coming. When we use words like migration, invasion, these words are old, outdated words. We know because it means that they came in and didn't go back. That's not true. They were traders. They would come in and go back. They would come in and go back. In seasonally, they would come. They would cross the Hindu Kush mountains in summer, and they would return before winter so that they can. And why are they coming in and out? They are coming in because the people in India wanted those beautiful horses and chariots, and they could take the iron back. And that seems to be a plausible, that's my hypothesis, of course, but we don't know. But iron is important because that is something that India clearly had to offer the world. And while in the horses were in demand everywhere, iron was also in demand. Now, where do you get, either the iron is in demand. I'm sure iron was available in, I mean, it's available in Turkey or Anatolia, but they didn't have the technology. Did people from India travel, or were they taken from here by these Aryans? So this trade route is a very important route to remember. We also know that the Aryans who came, how do we know this? There is genetic evidence now. We know that if 4,000 years ago, Indians did not have the steppe pastoral genes. But after that, around 3,500 years ago, steppe pastoral genes R1A1 starts appearing in India. It is not there found before that, it's found after that. Where did it come from? It came from Ukraine and via the long inner Asian mountain corridor, which is located in Kazakhstan. It came and entered, it then went to Oxus civilization, that is on the western side of the Hindu Kush. From there, they crossed the Hindu Kush and entered India. So these men who came married local women, and they didn't bring women with them because traders usually don't travel with women. So they would have come, they would have married local people, and they've gone back with the iron. They would have left maybe horses behind, but they would have gone back. And then this is happening over a long time, maybe 500 years. By 1000 BC, maybe iron is now available everywhere, so nobody needs to come back with the horses. But you can see that the Aryans have made their mark in India. They are children. There are people here who know the language of the Aryas, something, and a new language called Sanskrit has emerged. They are composing poetry which contains memories of the father, memories of the mother, and that is what we call the Vedas. So that's what the Veda is. The old Veda, Rig Veda, does not mention iron. It only says Ayas, which probably means copper or bronze. And Atharva Veda mentions Krishna Ayas or iron. Now, Rig Veda doesn't mention conch shell, Shankha. It mentions horses but not conch shell. Atharva Veda mentions the conch shell. Conch shell bangles are very famously known from the Harappan civilization. So something is happening in North India. Meanwhile, now what happens in North India? The iron technology which is emerging enables them to clear the forests of Ganga. They clear the forests of Ganga, and clearing the forests, that is where agriculture starts and the Vedic civilization starts. And we know that around 800, 700 BC, a new type of pottery is seen in the Gangetic plain, which is called painted gray ware. It replaces the black and red pottery. There's a shift in pottery indicating a shift in culture. So there is iron, there is a new pottery, there is a new gene, there are horses. All this indicates the Vedic civilization has come. We know that this civilization spreads. It is in the northern part of the Indus. It doesn't go to the southern part of the Indus. Remember, Indus Valley, the Harappan civilization, the entire Indus Valley, but the Vedic is only in the upper part, the Punjab, Haryana part. From there, they move along the Terai mountains of the Himalayas. Easier to go there because it was dense forest. It's not like it is today. You can just drive down from Haryana to UP. They went along these mountains, probably to Uttarakhand, which is why Uttarakhand is so important and sacred to Hindus. And from Uttarakhand, using the Ganga and Yamuna river, they started coming down, burning the forest. We have references to the forest being burned in the Shatapatha Brahmana. The iron is being used to cut the forest, and you're clearing the forest to create agricultural settlement, and new kind of pottery is coming at that time, around 700, 800 BC. And then, of course, the famous second urbanization is what is happening around the Buddha's time, 2500 BC.
So, with the Keeladi excavation, what's going to change or expected to be changed in the way we see history?
Things are going to change, because was there another urbanization even before this second urbanization, 16 Mahajanapadas of the Gangetic Plain? What is happening in South India? We have heard of the megalithic structures, but were there cities? And that's what Keeladi is saying, that when the Vedic culture is emerging in North India, in South India, where they're discovering iron and they're creating a new pottery, the old pottery style and iron already exists in South India, in Vaigai, and that is what this excavation is talking about. And that is very exciting, and that is what we need to consider. Even more exciting is the fact that we know that the Brahmi script, we know from the Ashokan edicts, is 225 BC, but there is a Tamil Brahmi which has been found in Tamil Nadu, which can be dated to 270 BC, indicating that probably Brahmi script existed in South India and then came to North India, and the Mauryan king took it. And we know that because the Jain monks were traveling to South India. Now, Jains are famous for trading. Did they come to South India for iron? Did they come to trade with these cities? Did they take the Brahmi script north, which was then used by Ashoka? Questions to be asked. Not very clear, but there is clear evidence of Tamil Brahmi perhaps pre-existing the Brahmi script of North India. So South is emerging. These are new ideas emerging. This presence of Tamil Brahmi and in the caves also suggests that the Sangam literature, we know it, began in 300 BC and not around 100 AD as was previously assumed. Now, Sangam poetry is old Tamil poetry, which has nothing to do with the Vedas. These are old Tamil poetries. They speak of a very different ecosystem in the Vaigai region, in the Tamil Vaigai region, and traditionally it has been dated to after 100 AD. Then you have the grammar emerging over there. You have the Madurai region, which is Madurai region is in the Vaigai region. You have the Sangam poetry emerging. The classical Sangam is from 100 to 300 AD. From 300 AD to 600 AD is the Jain and Buddhist epics involving women such as Shillapadikaram, Mani Meghalai, Kundalakeshini. These are Buddhist and Jain stories from 300 AD to 600 AD. And after that come the Bhakti poetry of the Alvars and Nayanars, which is talking about Shiva and Vishnu, which comes only after 700 AD. But the starting point of Sangam, perhaps because of Keeladi, is now being pushed before. It could have happened much earlier. These poetries were consolidated later, but they perhaps talk of an earlier age, 300 BC, 400 BC, or as being suggested, 800 BC. Now that's something very interesting and exciting, because now there is clear indication, not even suggestion, clear indications that there is after the Harappan civilization collapses, there seems to be some kind of an urban civilization in South India, deep South India, in Tamil Nadu. There may be something in Karnataka. We don't know. It may be in Maharashtra. Archaeology will find out later. But clearly, we have a city in Keeladi, in Vaigai rivers, and there is iron there. There is carnelian beads, which is coming from Gujarat. There are black and red pottery, which is similar to the one which you see in the Harappan sites. So Keeladi has become very, very important to change the timelines dramatically. People are nervous. Now, when it comes to horses, some people will tell you that horses are found in Bhimbetka caves. Have you heard that? But remember, Bhimbetka caves has cave paintings. They are painted over and over again. So it's very difficult to date cave paintings. There are over 20 layers of paintings in that same site. And the horses, most probably there were from 1000 BC, not from 1500 BC or before. So, by 1000 BC, horses were available. The traders were coming with new horses. The horses were known to the Bhimbetka in central India. So that's it. And of course, then people will tell you about the Sinoli chariot, which is found in Uttar Pradesh, 1800 BC. So after the collapse of the Harappan cities and before the Vedic age. But the Sinoli is not a chariot. It's probably a wagon. It's no spoked wheel. It is a solid wheel. So if it's not a solid wheel, it can only be pulled by an ox. And such ox-pulled wagons are found in Oxus civilization, and the antennae swords. There are special. It's a burial site. The Vedic people cremated the dead. They have these antennae swords, special kind of swords. Again, these are found in the Oxus civilization. So the Oxus civilization had trade connections with the Gangetic Plain. So those wagons were coming, the bullocks were coming, the antennae were coming, and probably they were looking for iron. And they were trying to trade for iron. This was the pre-Vedic traders maybe, and then the Aryans came with their horses and chariots and took the iron. So we should not forget the trading connections, and this migration, invasions are not people one-way traffic. There's a trade going on, and Indians never left. They said, you come, because we have special things. We have India is a rich, fertile land. There's always food here. There is meat here. The buffaloes here. There are deer here to eat. There is rice grown, wheat grown, millet grown. So we did not, unlike west of the Hindu Kush, the Afghanistan region, the Iran region, where there is not so much of farming. Those people over there have metal. They need to trade more. They travel more. Indians didn't have to travel outside. We were very happy locally, but the traders would come to us, and the horse traders came, the Aryans came, and why did they come? For iron, and maybe they took it from Keeladi.
Thank you so much, Devdutt. Now, students, aspirants, viewers, all those who have not seen the previous episode, I'll recommend that go back in the playlist, see the last episode where we started the discussion around this excavation. We're planning to do more of such videos. We invite your ideas, your suggestions, the topics which you want us to take. You can write to me on manas.srivastava@indianexpress.com, and we'll be happy to take up these questions with Devdutt Pattanaik in our upcoming episodes of Art and Culture with Devdutt Pattanaik. Before going, please follow our initiatives of UPSC Essentials on the indianexpress.com, and keep watching some many informative videos on the YouTube channel of the Indian Express. Till then, as I always say, think smart, work hard, conquer your goal. Bye-bye.